I'm very pleased to, well, don't need to introduce him, Javed Siddiqui, who's going to say some words now.
Hi, can everybody hear me? Yeah? Okay. I hadn't prepared anything. I think this is absolutely marvellous that people are here. We've got a huge audience as ever, and it's really your support that's making everything possible. We've been, as you know, protesting for quite some time, and we've also been collecting money. The money's going directly to Gaza in Khan Yunis to make sure that people get food, get the basic essentials, and that's still going to continue. I think one of the things I want to talk about is the media, and you really do need to be careful what is being said. When the things did not begin on October the 7th, okay? October the 7th wasn't the start of all this oppression, all this settler occupation. It's been going on for 7 decades. The Palestinian people have been living with oppression, with torture. So when the 7th of October, the first thing that came out was that apparently children had been beheaded and that women had been raped. That's a lie. In fact, even Blinken had to admit that's a lie. So there's all sorts of things being said. In fact, the more and more that comes out, what has happened on October the 7th was that the IDF were involved in what happened. Basically, they didn't want to take hostages. They went ahead and shot their own people. Because that's the sort of truth that needs to come out. Of recent, some BBC journalists, there may be some who've got some conscience, have said what a biased propaganda that's coming out. So you really need to be careful, and you need to look out at what's being said out there in supposedly our name. It's not in our name, it's in our government's name, it's in our political party's name, and they should be ashamed, and they will be on the wrong side of history. Thank you. I do think that we are making progress. We are making progress in the sense we are in the majority of the world. People are constantly protesting everywhere, whether that's Europe, whether that's Asia, whether that's Latin America. More and more countries are, people in those countries are showing support for Palestine, because we are all Palestinians and we're all here to support Palestine. I think that's enough.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Javed. I've noticed that we've got some students in our midst, and I want to pay tribute to the students of Sheffield. They have been absolutely brilliant in our demonstrations, in their own work, and one of the stunning facts that they have uncovered, and which they're hoping to challenge and are challenging, is the fact that Sheffield University outstrips Oxford and Cambridge in its profiting from arms trade. It's got contracts, it's got a centre, the Advanced Research Centre out in Attercliffe, and it's got things going on that help and support Israel's arms dealing, and it's those weapons that are killing Palestinians today. So a tribute to our young students, the leaders of tomorrow, who are uncovering these facts and who are ready and prepared to challenge them. They're doing a fantastic job. Among them are some students who are hoping one day to become medics. And I'd just like to say something about one doctor, Dr. Hassan Abu Sitta, who I had the pleasure of meeting last year in Edinburgh. He introduced himself modestly as a doctor. We had a nice conversation, got on extremely well, and now I discover that he is a specialist in reconstructive surgery. They call him the doctor who mends broken faces. He's a professor as well as a surgeon. He lives in London, but when this attack began, Hassan packed his bags and went to Gaza. where he's been before because his family are refugees from Beersheba, just outside Gaza. He went to Al-Shifa Hospital where he started working on patients with the most grotesque injuries imaginable. He's been in many war zones. And on the television the other night I saw him speaking about what he'd seen. He'd seen what you would expect. Bullet wounds, people who have been buried under rubble. But he said he'd also seen wounds that he has not seen for a very long time, if at all. He's seen people with over 40% burns on their body. He's seen children suffering from the effects of white phosphorus. I didn't know what it was until a few years ago. It's a substance that if it drops onto your skin, it just doesn't stop burning. It goes right through the flesh to the bone. The injuries are utterly horrendous. And he said that the latest injury that he's seen, the newest injury, comes from a special weapon. Israel's always developing new ways of slaughtering people. And this special weapon falls from the sky and sends out sharp flechettes, discs, razor sharp, with such force that they can sever a thigh bone. So he's seen people coming into the hospital with their legs amputated, a clean wound in the sense that it's straight through, but it's inflicted by this type of weaponry. And he told the story of a boy that he treated who'd had his leg amputated and his hand mangled. He did the very best he could for him, and then he had to leave the hospital and go south to Rafah. The father put his son in a wheelchair and pushed him for 5 hours to get to Dr. Hassan. That's one story, there's only one story of what's happening today in Gaza, and there are many more. And I'm very pleased to say that Mushir is standing here next to us. And one of the tremendous services that Mushir has done for us is when he was in Gaza, through many weeks of the attacks, he was sending us the most powerful eyewitness accounts, filmed evidence of war crimes, and I think that evidence is going to be made use of. So I'm very pleased. Please give a round of applause to Mushir, and he's going to say a few words.